Let's see if they can find those angles straight off the bat. Vicla slams the LeBlanc. It's instantly answered with a set of Nautilus. We are blasted through the draft here.
Yes, everyone knows their priorities. Scout has been one of the premier LeBlanc players and lets that go over to Vicla, instead trying to pick his own champion against it. They're not going to get themselves one of their easier champions to play, that Twisted Fate. That can help some of the macro worries of LNG because it just is so easy to play. So the question is, what else do you lock in? You've got the Leona. Seems like, again, pretty tier listy stuff from the side of Rare Assum. It wouldn't surprise me to see a Talia being picked up on 3 from LNG. Maybe RA could pick up their AD carry now, just because it would make things easier for the rest of the draft.
One thing to quickly mention as well, as we wait for the third pick here, is that RA and LNG are swapping sides compared to the first time. It's double round robin, so this time RA gets side selection to begin the series, so they've gone over to the blue side. So even though it's the same series, you can anticipate that the drafts will be quite different, and so far they are proving to be, with Jwei getting that Leona, but both the LeBlanc and the Graves different to what RA brought to the first game last time around.
Yeah, now LNG cycling through a whole lot of mid lane. Okay, right, Malzahar. We don't see too much of this. We've seen one game of it in the LPL so far, and I'm pretty sure we haven't seen it anywhere else worldwide currently. The last time I remember seeing it, it was a loss. I can't remember the matchup it was in, but it is one of those picks we can eventually just look at LeBlanc and say, nope, you're not moving.
Yeah, I mean, Malzahar, incredibly obnoxious with the new items, with all of the stacking dots that you can go for now, on top of Malignance, reducing his ult cooldown as well. It's definitely, Malzahar players right now are eating pretty good. Let's see how Scout does on the pick here against it. Like you say, a pick that you can really punish as that Malzahar. Problem is, LeBlanc can also just one-shot your minions, so your wave clear not quite as good as you want it to be.
And also, so the only other game we've seen of it in Tier 1 play has been RA versus OMG, where Angel tried to play against Vicla, and I remember this game now because RA just sent a load of people in mid lane very early into the game to stop this Malzahar from doing anything. You can see that because of that, RA batting away early skirmishy champions like the Viego. Wouldn't surprise me to see something like Xiaoxu also taken off the table. Something that can run mid and support Malzahar in the early few levels of the game before he starts getting that real lane locking control, where he just kind of pushes for free, never lets you leave lane, and can even start getting some chunks onto you as well.
Yeah, it was, I remember that game too, and it was brutal. It was brutal.
Yep.
Vicla was very happy with how that one went down. He's got the same matchup again. Honestly, I think Vicla will be kind of okay with this one. I think they can maybe just rerun a very similar game plan. We'll see if RA will be able to pull that off. Renekton locked in though for Zika. Very safe blind pick top lane.
Well, it is, and it's now you have to ask yourself the question of, well, do you just go Skarner into it? Of course, Skarner's a weird pick in the LPL. I think our best players in the league are very happy to blind pick it and just kind of bring it into teamfights. Players like Breathe or a couple of the other real big teamfight top laners. It feels like it's been falling behind in some individual matches though, and Zika with the Renekton will be able to pull out the Skarner early at least, but then I feel like, of course, Xiaoxu on the Skarner can at least just run at the enemy team very effectively later into the game. With some pretty long-range follow-up, you have Graves, you have Varus, who can both throw their long-range skill shots over. LeBlanc jumping forwards. Feels like a lot of this is just kind of following up on the two big, beefy champions running forwards.
Yeah, I like it though for RA, like, straightforward. Why would you not keep it straightforward, right? When the win condition last time was beating them in the team fights. Going for a fairly straightforward front to back here for RA. On the side of LNG, WeiWei slams a Karthus to finish this composition off. This has got plenty of scaling on the side of LNG, with WeiWei on Karthus, with Gala on the center. Plenty of pick potential as well.
Yeah, and there's a lot of good damage there, but the question about LNG has not been about whether they've been drafting damage. It's about how they set up to use said damage. I need to see LNG protect Scout early. Malzahar is very vulnerable in the first stages of the game, and there is a Leona on the other side who could just leave lane for one wave and run mid, see if they can mess around with that Malzahar. I need to see that champion be protected. It's quite hard to do that with a Karthus early on too. He's not a Lee Sin, Xiaoxu, Viego, early brawler type. This is going to have to be a concise and effective early game from LNG to stop Rare and presumably attacking the vulnerability in mid lane early.
Gotta say, the early game is not what I think of for LNG. Typically they are a fairly slow burning team. Let's see how they approach this one. Because they are definitely a team that can play towards win conditions. I'm not saying it's impossible. They just typically don't like the early game win conditions historically. So we'll see. The first game of this series last time around started very slow. Things did seem to speed up throughout the rest of the series. So let's see how things pan out today. I've got to say, I'm just loving that we're back to Leon and Nautilus. I know a lot of people are probably bored, but I absolutely adore this matchup. I think it just makes the LPL so much more fun.
Well, there were some Gyos in there. Couldn't hear all of them. They were like, wait, again, some of these teams, like our LNGs, are so slow at starting off games that other teams have memed on them by having their promo image for the games being turtle shells. That's just the thing that we do here. By the way, the promotional posters for LPL are really good. Not many places do that, not many leagues do that, but we have some really good ones crop up every now and again. But I'm just saying, maybe it's bled over to the audience just a little bit for the first game of the day. We'll wake up. We'll get on with it later.
Yeah. One thing I will say as well, we're going to be starting in Suzhou for our first matchup in LNG's arena, so it is possible it's down to like crowd mic levels and all this kind of thing. It does. I don't want to just blame the
when in
audience
doubt,
here.
blame the crowd.
Yeah, exactly. It's the text problem. It's the text problem. Here we go though. Starting things off opposite for the junglers. Xiaohao on the top side, WeiWei on the bottom side, pathing opposite as well. Often we do see lane swaps coming through when we've got these AP junglers, but not going to be the case here for LNG.
Yeah, and I think this is actually okay for either team. I think that RA, they could have potentially benefited by putting Senna into a lane swap, because Senna loses so many souls when you go into lane swaps. But I think they also have strong lanes as well. Varus Leona, strong lane. Again, they want to have as much focus on mid lane as possible. So if Jwei can get decoupled from this lane just for one wave to go mid lane, that could be really powerful. Really want to see what, again, WeiWei's scout, particularly Hung as well on the well, I guess he's the farming Nautilus, even he can't leave that early. Maybe so Gala then at that point, to see if they can just make sure that scout isn't left out to dry before he can really fend for himself with the instant wave clear that only really Malzahar gets to do.
Yeah, I'll be looking at Jwei specifically, because Xiaohao, I mean, there's not a whole lot you can do as Graves without someone there to set you up. Vicla, not exactly a big setup mid laner, unless he can somehow land the chains blind, but
yeah.
blind, you know what I mean. But Jwei, if he can roam into that mid lane, he can make things happen, and that's what we saw last time around against OMG. And RA had to play against this Malzahar. See if they can do it again.
We did see a couple of really good Graves games recently. It was Griffith or GLFS on IG that had an awesome Graves game the other day. We know what the champion can do. It's not the easiest champion to play around. I feel like this is why Card... Wow, that's a good stun there. I think this is why we see so much Cardless being played, is that he is so much easier to work around. Vicla!
Just solo kill Scout! He's going to go down to WeiWei in the end, but my goodness, who needs the team to bully when you can just solo kill him?
Well, I mean, WeiWei does end up cleaning up the kill, staying on the map, and we did say you're probably going to attack the Malzahar early before he can fend for himself. Vicla does invest the flash, but gets the kill. Yeah.
Scout died, bought a Dark Seal in the Death Realm before WeiWei finished the kill, got the assist, and got stuck on the Dark Seal. How did he win that engagement? Zika now setting up for WeiWei to move top. WeiWei is just cleaning up the map right now. The skills, dodging the skills, Xiaoxu dodges everything.
Who said Karthus wasn't an early ganking champion? Couldn't quite make that work, and now, of course, the bot lane have to join in the fighting.
Oh boy, Gala's low here. Will survive for now. The root comes out onto Jwei, trading a bit of damage back. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Xiaohao is waiting in the brush. He's going to go for crop. There's still quite a few minions. It's going to take a while to crash in, and actually, that next wave is going to arrive in time to stop the crash. Does lead to an even bigger crash in a moment. I'm not sure Xiaohao will be able to stick around.
Also, Gala managed to keep auto-attack uptime in the center really well there. The more you auto-attack, the less your Q cooldown becomes as well. Manages to get 3-4 different Qs through, has plenty of health now, managed to take some away from Assum and Jwei. WeiWei is going to see the fact that his bot side is gone at this point. He'll kind of know by kind association that Graves went through there. I mean, Vicla jumps beyond, doesn't fall back for the silence to hit onto him. That would have been a good bait from Scout, but does invest the flash, does die afterwards. It's a kill compared to assist in the mid lane, and as you rightfully said, you can buy Dark Seal or a Medjai's in the death screen and then get the stacks from it from assists. Scout gets some minor value from that. That's a nice micro win.
So it's a 500 gold lead for Vicla mid, and a 500 gold lead for WeiWei in the jungle. We'll see which one can carry harder. Vicla continuing to put this pressure down in the mid lane. It's good to see. However, Scout almost hitting that level 6 mark, and that is where it starts to become a lot harder for Vicla to trade.
Yeah, we need to see if there's another gank mid. No, he does still have 6 and flash. Hard to do that. But if you get another gank mid and he gives enough gold over to Vicla to get the first item and then go for a luxury QSS kind of ahead of the pace of the game, that's when things get really difficult for LNG, because the Malzahar's value goes quite far down at that point. So you could see that Jwei leaving lane, as we said, potentially could happen. That's a risk for LNG that they need to continually track. They only have to miss it once, and then RA can get themselves a good kill in that mid lane and maybe set themselves up for a winning game state.
The double fated ashes now in inventories for WeiWei and Scout, and I feel like that's a really good bit of foreshadowing for what's going to go on later. Imagine Scout flashes to combo ult someone, right? You maybe survive, you maybe walk away bleeding, the Leandry's burning, etc. But then WeiWei's laser comes down from the sky, more burns, more dots applied. It's going to be hard to survive the onslaught damage. However, Drake coming up, Xiaohao trying to finish the crab, but look at this, 4v3, and Hung has a free hook here whenever he wants it, forces a flash first. He just didn't throw the hook. Yeah. Was it on cooldown?
I think what he was trying to do was wait until the Eclipse wore off from Leona, so she didn't have all the tank stats. But waits a bit too long, and now Scout, you can't get caught out like this.
I mean, this is disastrous. Forced to flash there, at least didn't use that flash in the previous play. So, will survive. Hung gets dodged by Jwei and Assum, and now the counter engage. Scout still the target. He goes down. Not a good game on the Malzahar.
And he's just used the flash, used the ult while dying as well, and couldn't get any return damage. And what did we say? Just one more kill onto the Malzahar, and that's going to give Vicla the extra gold to get to probably a first item Ludens, and then go towards the QSS very quickly after that point. If he gets to the point where he's like 1,000+ gold ahead of the Malzahar, he'll be at the same gold as Scout in terms of the combat items, and then still have the defensive item on top of that, because that's what, 1,300 gold on the other side of that too. This is awful news from LNG. This is one of the big issues we've had about LNG. There are quite obvious things which could go wrong in the game, like, oh, maybe you'll get lane swapped on in this really bad game, like happened in the last time they faced RA. And in this game, the obvious loss condition is, what happens if Scout dies too many times and the LeBlanc gets a load of gold? The fact that they haven't realized and prepared for this, and the fact that he was pathing that way back towards mid lane and still died, that's a really bad sign.
It doesn't feel like this is a heavily practiced pick for Scout, does it? But here we go. Good, just combo. Vicla gets the chains, obviously forces the flash, but then it's this part that is suspect to me. The Scout just sort of stayed. Like,
I don't know whether he thought that his team was waiting for another play and he wanted to sit around in the back for an ult, but yeah, he probably should have just tried to run back through his own jungle. I think maybe Xiaohao could have caught him anyway, but I think he would have had a better chance of surviving. It's just, yeah, a bit directionless. He shouldn't have retreated that way back to mid lane, even at the start of that play, and it's put his team into a bit of an awkward position. You know, the gold is even enough. You have a lead on top side for Zika, but at the end of the day, he's on a Redacted, not the most useful champion compared to the Skarner when it comes to team fights later. Yes, can bully out, can be an assassin too, and some points, but it does feel like LNG can't be giving the gold over in the places that they've done so far.
Yeah, really tough look to start off with here for LNG. WeiWei wants to change that though. He got one kill already. Xiaoxu was able to dodge his Skittles last time around. See if he can pull it off again. Remember, he can get... Oh, he saw him. He saw WeiWei. The stun comes in. Dominus there as well. And look at this damage available. Remember, he still has all... Oh, no, Zika's going to go down. WeiWei had all. We didn't have to dive this.
Oh, now WeiWei's going to get forced to flash maybe? He might even just die.
Vicla's just cleaned it up. This is just a bit of a disaster. The ult's coming out, though. Gala wants a 2v1. I'm not sure you win the 1v1 against Vicla at this point in the game. Gala does have to be a little bit more cautious there. Knew that there were no cooldowns. This game is weird.
Yeah. WeiWei is playing the card as though he is somewhat a little bit more aggressive in that early game. You know what? Credit to him. Got a load of gold in pocket. He's even just said, look, I'm so fed and I've got so much gold. I don't need a black fire torch. I'm just going to go straight for the Leandries rather than going for the mana cooldown item.
Oh no, Gala.
Now Gala...
Oh, that's not the place to back. Didn't realize there was a ward. CC chain is too much of the solar flare. Sheer sunburn. Gala burnt to a cinder.
Should have brought the SPF out alongside the railgun. And now Vicla, what do we say? If he gets 1,500 gold ahead of his opponent, he's going to have first damage item, and then he will also have a QSS on top of that. He's got his first item. He's going to get to the point where Vicla can absolutely carry this game. Going to go back to the replay of what happened in the 2v1 topside. Xiaoxu plays this really well. Gets the good ping back from the ult, which means that he brings the Renekton back into the range of the tower. Skarner's ult nowadays, if you just get caught on the edge of it, you get pulled back into the middle of the hitbox. That's why it ends up looking like that. That leaves WeiWei out in a bit of a bad position because he thought the Renekton might be there and was a bit dead. Gala at least cleans up one, but it's still not a great play in the top side for LNG.
It would have been better if Gala didn't then try and reset in that tri-brush. Got punished pretty heavily for that on top of it. Does mean at RA, 1,000 gold up right now, and oh boy, Gala, no cleanse, no flash, and not much chance in this dive if they do pull it off. The wave, I mean, it could just be cut off, right? Yeah, there we go. Just cancel the recalls, cut off the wave.
Hong has no mana. They actually have no mana for the Nautilus ult either. Now, the wave isn't here, but if they keep stopping the backs, which they're doing with a lot of these skill shots, I mean, what do? They're teleporting in with Scout. He has flash and ult, but they might just focus on the Malzahar.
Scout's just gonna die as well. Gala gone in seconds. Hung will be next. Jwei happy to tank the tower. Steps out against Scout now. Alone under the tower. Aggro resets. Are they going to go for the redive? Health bars are pretty low, but I don't think they care. It's immaculate from RA.
Yeah, and Vicla ends up dying. I guess he got something on him at the end, and WeiWei will get some camps on the other side, but realistically, what are you doing here at this dive? You don't have the tools for this, you don't have the power, and this to me is again, kind of like a flowering of the seeds sown earlier in the early game, which was effectively, Scout died so much that he's not going to be useful for quite some time. I'm just going to go straight onto Xiaohao, going to pull the ult as well. There's no mana on him.
He cancelled the ult with his smoke screen, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, he went out of vision somehow.
So
that's super weird.
Cancelled it mid-animation? Didn't even know you could do that to Depth
I think there might be a point where if someone flashes, well, maybe not flash out of range, but if they go out of vision before a certain point in the animation, I don't think it follows through. I think that's the case there. So really well-timed Graves smoke screen if that's the case.
So Xiaohao gets out, and now the recall from Hung might just be denied. Suddenly he's the one that's overstepped. Chains lands from Vicla. CC Chain is there from Jwei, but does Vicla have the damage to finish this one off? Aftershock about to time out. And there we go. The shield from Gala, a whiff.
But they used the ult as well from Seta. LNG! You gotta calm down. You gotta chill out. You know, we're getting lost in the sauce a little bit with bad resets, but throwing extra cooldowns and random teleports and ults across the map, this is not good for LNG. They need to stabilize somehow. And to be honest, you know, there are some good points for this. They have a fed Karthus, the Renekton's still doing fine in the individual lane, but the rest of the map is just getting really lost in the chaos of the game.
Yeah, I'd say they're lost in the sauce. I'm not even sure this is a sauce. This is just a tin of chopped tomatoes, but looking to chop up Vicla as well. Root does land, but the silence isn't there in time. And Vicla just zips out.
He doesn't even have the QSS yet. I'm going to imagine he's going to get that on his very next bat. He went for the tier 2 boots. I was wondering if that was going to be a bit greedy, but he gets away with it. Going to get a recall out, has a teleport to get back out onto the map, and now suddenly Scout, no flash, no ults. It feels like once again LNG have used a lot of those tools for very cheap reasons. Okay,
here we go again. Round number 3 is the Drake spawns. And will be pulled all the way into the jungle. Looks like LNG are going to concede this Drake. RA will just get it. Let's take another look at this dive.
So, there's no mana on Nautilus, and their backs have been stopped time after time. You end up using the Malzahar ult, but it's not on the person who's tanking turrets, so they don't end up tanking too many turret shots. Yes, the juggling's a little bit weird after this point because multiple people take aggro, but they just managed to redive again. And luckily for the side of LNG, they get a single dot. The Malefic Visions at least takes one back.
So there's something for Scout. He's got his Black Fire Torch now. but he's so far. I mean, it's 2k individual lead for Vicla at this point. And I will say, Nymeara, I came into this one saying, you know, LNG versus RA game 1 was very slow. Not much happened in the early game. Well, totally different look today. We have absolute carnage, almost a kill a minute so far in this one. Not what I expected.
One more good fight in there.
Yeah.
One more good fight, we'll reach that mark, that'll be fun.
We'll have to see. I think LNG, though, are going to slow things down. They conceded the last Drake. Looks like they're going to concede this Herald as well. And to be honest, I'm glad, because they've been choosing to take some fights that I'm not so sure they should have been taking.
The question is, if they're going to slow things down, what are they going to gain from it? So we are seeing that Zika on the Renekton is going to get a good amount of gold, doing well in the individual matchup. This was picked kind of knowing that the Skarner was likely to come out on the other side. The Skarner will be more valuable as a tank later. Renekton's better at controlling early game. That's the trade-off you have with those champions. But allowing him to damage these towers and maybe get some tower gold in the side lane, is that a win condition from LNG? No, not really. Nor did LNG have 2 dragons early. Maybe look for a soul later or something like that. They're trying to defend their outer turrets, but this is the problem. LNG might want to slow the game down, but they have to go into fog of war pretty dangerously to do that. They're losing health on these towers, and I just don't get what they're gonna... Well, even if they do slow the game down, what's that gonna lead to in terms of a winning game? All this is it feels like they're playing not to lose right now.
The one silver lining I'll say is they've got a Karthus, they've got a Senna. Like, there is, no matter what the game state looks like, there's always some level of belief with those 2 picks, isn't there? But we'll see if they can even get to a late game. Only time will tell. It's a 2,000 gold lead, or almost 3,000, sorry, in favor of RA right now. And over 2,000 of that is in the pocket of Vicla individually. This is a hell of a LeBlanc performance. Heads back to base, and finally, not only picks up the QSS, also picked up a needlessly large rod on that recall as well.
And this could go into a Banshees if it wants, or a Zhonya's if you want to go defensive. Can go for the Shadow Flame too. Jwei is tanky, goes in.
He's just going to start the fight off. He isn't afraid of 4 people. And here come the rest of the gang. Vicla chunking everyone. Health bar so low. Ult comes out from Scout and does
Xiaoxu.
absolutely nothing. The Scorpion King through the wall starts to tear them apart. Oh, this is a huge ult. This is a huge Requiem. And suddenly it's flipped on its head. The Skarner's gone too deep. Trades 1-for-1 there at the back as a double kill comes through for Xiaoxu. It's absolute chaos.
Yeah, it's a bigger 3-for-3, all things said and done. I was afraid that WeiWei was going to be in a position where maybe he couldn't get to either die in a good place to get an ult or would get it cancelled out of if he tried to use it while he was still alive. But they just about make that work. We're at him. Despite the gold lead, despite the fact that Vicla is very far ahead of the game, can't cleanly finish off the fight. Jwei goes in, but is a little too far for the rest of his team. The follow-up is great from the side of RA in terms of range and in terms of damage, but you can see that, you know, the Varasalt misses. Vicla's a little bit out of range to get a full one-shot onto any one person. It really starts to become a bit of a damage of DPS, and as he said, there are some still strong players on the side of LNG, and the Karthus Sana combo is really nasty. This ult just about seals out an even fight for them. Gets really close though. Xiaoxu could have cleaned up another one here.
Honestly, could not have been closer. And Zika as well. Really, really, really good TP. TP's behind them as Xiaoxu is going for that big flank. So the rest of RA can't quite follow up in the way that they want to. And then Zika gets to kind of cut through those health bars to set up for WeiWei's Requiem, who, I'm just going to quickly mention, very close to his second dot item on this Karthus. These Requiems are not going to get any easier to deal with. Zika starting to find the bottom side here as WeiWei might just have to leave outnumbered for the time being. As the rest of the gang moving over, Vicla just used that QSS, and on the front line, Xiaoxu happy to tank up. Hung is going to go down, and Jwei is still completely full HP. Zika dives in, but he has to dive straight out again. Xiaohao jumps into the Herald mid-fight, and he starts the engage! He sets up his Xiaoxu's knockback as well. Gala will fall to the shotgun. No collateral damage backwards as he jumps forward. Xiaohao just styles on him!
I mean, we've seen the Fast and Furious style from Hacker. Wait for the rolling pin of Xiaohao's Herald usage. It's not just a taxi, it's also a weapon of war. And Xiaohao walks away with a clean fight out of that.
That was absolutely ridiculous. That was completely ridiculous. I need to see the replay of that right this second. Xiaohao just took this game into his own hands. He's like, I'm done with these team fights. Slams the Herald, charges through everyone, and then completely destroys both Scout and Gala.
I love this. No one does Herald usage like the LPL. Now, folks, gonna go into this fight and be like, ooh, yes, lots of damage. I don't care about the rest of the team fight. Show us the Herald again. Xiaohao gets rooted at the start of it. It's like, I've been denied my entry into the fight. I must find another way into it. Places down the Herald and midway through it goes, oh yeah, I'm out of mobility. Thank God I've got another mode of transportation here. It's a mess of a fight. I think LNG actually started off really well. I just love the creative use of the Herald in the LPL. No one does it like us, folks.
The Skada follow-up as well. The Gala just gets absolutely destroyed. The collateral damage backwards to then continue chasing onto Scout. My God, that is just beautiful.
Oh, man. Look, when you've watched so much League of Legends, and you've watched it for so long, not many things surprise you anymore. I did think that some people would start using Herald in some niche scenarios for engage tools. I'm glad we've finally seen it, because I'm genuinely quite surprised at the ways that we've seen Herald used really well in the last week or so. It excites me, Joe.
Yeah, twice so close together as well. It's something else. I did not expect to see so many great Herald plays so
it really is.
soon.
It's like when you're waiting for a bus and it doesn't come for forever, and then two bus-shaped Heralds come along at exactly the same time. We've heard the same kind of saying for years. It's really feeling like, again, we're having a lot of fun with this objective around here.
Yeah, it's getting messy, it's getting silly, and I am loving every set. To be honest, it wasn't messy. Messy is absolutely not the right word for that. That was clean as hell from Xiaohao.
It was creative. I liked it. It was good. And, like, I want to see more of that creativity, because if you find your way onto the back line, there is going to be a lot of damage following up. The long-range follow-up is going to be disgusting!
Punk trying to stick around, trying to protect Gala, but the double flank from Xiaohao and Vicla, as they just try and find more picks onto Gala. Gala is really under pressure this game. It feels like everybody is gunning for him, but it's not that surprising with a Graves, a Leona, and a LeBlanc on the enemy team.
And I think that's really going to tell the tale of the fight. It's going to be RA trying to find access to WeiWei, trying to deny Scout a position where he can pin someone down in front of the rest of his team, and just make sure that the backline doesn't get to kind of like sit pretty. And they have the gold to do that. They have so much gold on the Graves, he just has to commit an ult towards that backline. Of course, he got Vicla with the Spell Shield of the Verdant Barrier and the QSS, just upgraded to a Banshees, so the Banshees is going to give him even lower Spell Shield to try and do that multiple times in a phase of play 2. You've got the Leona ult from a million miles away, you've got Varus arrows from a million miles away, Xiaoxu fly through a wall. Oh, okay, it seems just caught. Well, that's the end of that.
A million miles is just not enough, unfortunately. Walks up to the WeiWei, gets caught. Xiaoxu dies in the midst of everyone. It's a double ult. The Solar Flare is there as well, and he's still going strong somehow. The shield comes through at the last second, but taken out by the Railgun. No way do you lose this one now, RA. Surely you don't lose this one now. WeiWei with a double kill and Baron on the cards.
What has Assum just done? What has he just done? He walks up way too far in mid lane, and LNG don't have to worry about the flanks. So you're saying, oh, that should be the tail of the game. It's not, because of the mispositioning and the kind of execution of RA. Vicla's going in now, but it is going to be a 2v5.
It's last chance saloon here. Vicla and Xiaohao need to make a miracle happen. Who's in the pit, does manage to dip back out 3k on the Baron. It's going to be taken by LNG, and I don't think there's any punish available either. Fair play, Vicla and Xiaohao looking for something, but they find nothing. Still 2k up in gold, but that gold gap has shrunk massively.
What is Assum doing here? What is he doing up here? He keeps walking up, even though he sees someone walk onto the screen, gets hit by the wall of plane, and that slow is it. As soon as you're hit by that slow, doesn't have a spell shield. Maybe he could have cleansed the slow. Maybe that would have actually helped him towards the like escape the initial part of that. You know, as you can see right here, Scout isn't touched. We said that, well, Scout has to pin someone down in front of his team. He manages to do that. That's great. He shouldn't be able to do that from that gold advantage, but all the same, LNG find the opportunity. Got a Dragon coming up in a minute, and that should be, again, what we're looking for. LNG pinning a target down in the front line and stopping RA from reaching the backline through just huge amounts of CC. Yeah. Hope that the Malzahar, the Renekton, and the Nautilus can stop RA reaching the backline.
And you could kind of see the angle for RA as well, where you see Xiaoxu get 2 people with the Skarner or the Solar Flare, lands on both of them for free, guarantees a double stun. Unfortunately, there was no follow-up there. Zika blocks the chains, Gala walks away with his life, but a little nervous, I'm sure, at this point, as Vicla is looking real scary and wants to continue to get this damage down. LNG muscle their way into the river.
You can see that 3 items away with the Malignance too. Multiple ults going to come through, which wouldn't have come through on a time without that item. Malignance very, very good at unlocking later game Karthus into every fight. Scout's really strong with a double burn. Feels like even if you're jumping forward for poke now as Vicla, you've got to be a little bit careful. One thing lands onto you, there's a lot of damage going to come back.
5k on the Dragon here. LNG having to peel away. WeiWei commits and does get that Drake 2 for 2 now as Jwei gets locked up a bit and will just burn down. Not much happening here on the side of RA. And Scout finds the ultimate. The hook follows it up. And LNG, they've come out of the woodwork. It looked disastrous all game. And suddenly they're alive.
It took a bit of mispositioning from RA earlier into the game to unlock this door to this game, but LNG have found a way to stop RA from reaching the backline. And it feels like now, with multiple fights in a row, with the Dragon taken away from RA2, this should be them sliding into, as you were saying earlier, the Senna, the Karthus getting huge items.
Yeah.
I don't think RA have the burst now to kill the backline with just a LeBlanc or just a big Skarner push back into the rest of the team. I think that LNG have done it.
Do you want to know something really scary?
Yes.
WeiWei doesn't even use his ultimate in this fight. That's how one-sided
I didn't
it is
consider that.
without even a Requiem.
And like this, he's even built the ult baseball. It's got a Malignance in there. But you know, the big thing about this fight is just look how the battle lines look, how the shape of the fight happens. RA want multiple people in range of Scout with cancels on him, so his ult doesn't get value. So Gala can't stand and fight, and they just don't manage to do that. They get corralled themselves in by the remaining members of LNG. They kind of stick around to disrupt their own backline.
18 to 16 at 26.5 minutes. This is definitely one way to start a broadcast, isn't it? My goodness. WeiWei definitely having a field day today. It was a rough start to the game from Scout, but that last ult certainly buying LNG a team fight. And now with the Baron, well, with the Baron's run out at this point, but the gold swing in their favor, I think it was close to 6,000 across the course of that Baron, which is kind of obscene. And now LNG in the driver's seat for pretty much the first time this whole game.
And, you know, we said it wasn't necessarily all by their own doing. Perhaps Assum kind of threw them the opportunity. But hey, games like this, you have to take every chance you have got. And credit to LNG for doing that. And now they're going to go watch Vicla kind of play towards the bot side of the map. WeiWei on the other side coming through okay, but I don't think it's going to save the tower completely. Feels like we're getting ourselves a decent cross map. Vicla even going to get ulted.
How much does it do? The dots are ticking. I don't think it's enough. No Black Fire Torch there. He'll walk away with his life. That felt a little bit dicey. Your clone can't save you from a laser from the sky, I'll tell you that.
You know, WeiWei, he's about to get himself a death cap. If he gets himself that item, next time that comes through, yeah, that's definitely going to be a kill. So, needs to be very, very careful. Vicla thought he could play the side lane game, split the map, not play for the 5v5, which they've been losing recently. And yeah, I mean, the Karthus sadly makes things less of a 1v1 on the side lane, adds in an extra solid 1 to the equation.
Death cap on the way for Vicla. Death cap on the way for WeiWei. It's we're getting to the high damage point in the game where these health bars won't last very long. We'll have to see. A lot of it now is going to be down to positioning before these objectives, setting up for the neutrals, which I have to say is something LNG haven't really been the best at across the course of this split so far, which is crazy to me because historically, I feel like that's one of the things LNG always did well at was the bare fundamentals, like setting up objectives, playing through the correct lanes, etc. Feels like that has been a bit of a weakness for them this split, but hopefully this is the beginning of seeing them start to change that fact.
No, last year, they were so good at pushing inside lanes and then using that to get a good advantage on the objectives. And yeah, it just hasn't felt the same this year. And it has got to the point now where actually LNG, if they lose this series, they're very likely going through into Group B of the next stage of the LPL. That's where things get really spicy, where you're fighting for a last chance saloon to get into playoffs. You really want to go through as top 2 from your group if it's all possible. Winning a series like this is absolutely key to it. Rare Assum, I don't think we expected them to be in this position. Need to see if they can pull off one last flank, see if they can get themselves a good fight.
Vicla's on the back line, damage onto Scout. Oh, the collateral damage on top, it's gorgeous, what a combo. It's like they're playing with a Jin, as now Xiaoxu dives forward, looking for more. One ultimate, one target. It's not quite enough the Requiem to try and chunk everyone out on the other side, and it does a good chunk of damage at that. 5v4 though, as RA, they can just take control of mid.
Yeah, LNG might just try and go towards Baron, but RA with the kill onto Scout, clean combo, might go towards the Dragon themselves, which is spawning up in 20 seconds. It was a fight over the mid lane. You can see that LNG are still powerful, even with just 4 people alive.
TP from Xiaoxu, wants to threaten a flank, but in the meantime, Xiaohao going to move over towards that Drake. It's an Infernal Soul, remember, so big one, but this will only be Soul Point. And in the meantime, LNG are burning through a Baron. Let's see what RA have to say about it. Vicla,
Scout
not
TP.
that healthy. Baron already gone down, and LNG, 5 and strong. Xiaoxu's gone too deep. Vicla can't really trade anything. LNG, they get a Baron and a kill.
But Xiaohao didn't even stay on the Dragon. RA didn't even stick towards the other objective. And when it comes to the objective fights, feels like RA, even with the first kill, messed up the dance steps. LNG, well and truly, pushing into the base now. And without Xiaohao back in base, they might just take a full inhib, maybe even Nexus turret.
This late game has felt so much more confident from LNG, just saying, yep, you go the Drake, we're going for the Baron. Rail gonna cross Jwei.
Wait, Xiaohao's back, no stop.
That is game. Xiaohao can't even get back to base. Vicla, your QSS can't save you from that one. Cut down by the Croc, and the Nexus will fall. LNG not only playing faster than we're used to, but finding those objectives. 21 to 20. It was not clean, but it was a win.
Oh, it's the good old Dragon for Nexus trade. It's been a while since we've seen one of them. Rare Adam, man, that felt like that game was all theirs. But one overstep in the mid lane, quickly punished by LNG. And that was that. LNG, this series is important to them. If they lose this series, I think they're in a really bad spot. They're basically locked into Group B at that point, but Rare Atom would have taken both series over them at that point. So for them to take that game, very, very important to see that.
Yeah, LNG, a rough early game, but later on, things seem to clean up. I just love that we had over 40 kills in 30 minutes. That's the LPL that I know and love. Please, 2 more of that RA and LNG. We're going to jump into a break and then find out how many kills come out in game 2.